Mini episode 1150 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by Sportsology, delivering unconventional columns and webcasts about sports, TV, music, movies, and more. Follow them on the web at sportsology.com.
The FDH Lounge. You want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Hello everyone, welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode number 1150. This is FDH managing partner Rick Morris here, and for a quasi-August number like 1150, a pretty big number here, I am very, very happy to be bringing back in a gentleman who he always kind of chortles at the billing of pop culture expert and fitness expert, and now, of course, as of the last appearance on the show, I believe, an FDH Lounge dignitary, so an official member of our family, and again, somebody who we love to talk to about any number of things, but always at least the big awards shows. You can always count on us to break down the Oscars, and in this case, the Emmys, the 2019 Emmy Awards, and we are here for your review of that. It is both myself and Mr. Six-Pack Abs, John Basedow himself. Fitness Made Simple, and again, I am very, very happy to have John Basedow back on the show. John, thank you so much for being back here today, my man.
Well, you know, the moniker that I am most proud of is FDH Dignitary. FDH Lounge Dignitary has to be emblazoned on a very tight-fitting shirt so that I can wear it to the gym at all times.
Very tight fitting. You know what? I'm gonna accept that challenge, and that would be like the greatest thing ever. Is if you were to use that as a tight fitting shirt there with the six-pack abs sticking out there, the Fitness Made Simple abs. I will get on that, my man, because that is the kind of free advertising from a friend that you just can't beat.
and you are a friend. And fun fact that most people don't know: you will never ever see me exercising in the gym in a tight shirt. I just said that for a fact. I mean, when I'm in the pictures and in magazines and stuff like that, the shirt is like super skin tight. When I'm in the gym, I look like I just walked off the streets.
Yeah.
And it's got to be super comfortable and everything like that. But yeah, I would rock the FDH Lounge Dignitary in a loose shirt, a tight shirt, a tux, a sport jacket, or a sweater, whatever you have.
Well, what's that they say about form over function as far as what you're going to be working out in? So, you know, that is pretty funny. But yeah, I'm going to take that as a personal challenge to get you a suitable shirt made for the occasion, and that will be something that we can all look forward to. And of course, again, I always look forward to the awards shows like this one every year. Not so much in and of itself, because, you know, to be honest with you, you know, by and large, I can kind of take it or leave it. But I know it's going to lead to the dissertation with you afterwards about what happened. So, as a setup for the material that you and I are going to generate, in that sense, I do look forward to it. And there are any number of things that we always talk about with this. One of the ones here, on a big picture kind of a note, I will bring up is, this is a show that in recent years has gone back and forth at various times between Sunday and Monday night. And on Sunday night, they happened to go toe-to-toe with my Cleveland Browns on NBC. And the Cleveland Browns weren't beating very much on Sunday night, but the one thing they were beating, along with the Rams, was the Emmys in the ratings here. And they got smashed. And given that Sunday Night Football is always the most loaded schedule of the year for any of the networks here, and the odds are that they're going to pull a strong number with that. And of course, Monday Night Football has not been nearly the same since it went to ESPN. It's a weaker package, less penetration on cable. One would think that the moral of the story would be you probably want to go back to Monday nights this time of year, do you not?
It's funny how most of our Emmy talks or Oscar talks or any award show talks, and we've been doing this many years now.
Yes.
But it always seems to lead to the first question. But speaking of the declining rating, I was going to say they always keep raising the bar and getting worse. You know what I mean, as far as the ratings go. So the lead question was like, well, this one was even
True.
Sunday's a hard night, man. I mean, not only the sports, but I mean, granted, Fear the Walking Dead is on now, which probably doesn't generate exactly the numbers of regular Walking Dead, the original Walking Dead show. But I mean, you have a lot of strong shows on cable, on the streaming services. Sunday is a huge TV night, and I would think, no matter what show you are, why do you want to go into that when there's so many wide open nights you can choose from?
I would kind of agree. I don't really know why they would be looking in that direction, and I would think that would maybe be the lesson that they would kind of draw from this one here, is that maybe they should look someplace else. But it is still something that is a cornerstone of pop culture in the early autumn of America, and one of the things here that we always talk about, and one of the things I know that obviously is always a point of interest for you as somebody who has walked some red carpets yourself and interviewed folks on them, is what's going on with the red carpet. So this was one where, as I was kind of looking to see what was going on, there was it seemed to be this year sort of like a variety of colorful outfits. There was nobody that individually that I really saw that was dominating Twitter or anything like that, but a number of people that were kind of gaining attention for what they were wearing in an inventive kind of a way. And we've talked about this before, Oscars v. Emmys. You're certainly more likely to get that kind of creativity at the Emmys than the Oscars, which can be a more staid affair. Some would say stuffy. But what did you think of the red carpet this year, and who were some of the people that really jumped out at you?
First of all, you're right. I mean, in your analysis, usually when you're looking for the outlandish and the crazy, you'll see it a lot of times at the Grammys and the TV Awards, stuff like that. It's a feast for the eyes. But a lot of people look great. I'd say that one of the trends this year was definitely the what was it, orange and pink, or red and pink rather, with
right.
Mandy Moore. They were almost like, they were different styles of almost the same exact color, same exact dress, with Mandy Moore, and then you also had Marissa Tomei, and then also my favorite, who I love, Taraji P. Henson, rocking those colors, and they were, and the thing is, since they were all in a very colored dress, you'd see a lot of the the blogs and everything mentioning all three of them, and of course who wore it best, and the whole commentary that comes from that. And this was like, who I thought was one of the best dressed as far as the ladies walking the red carpet. Definitely Zendaya. She looked, I think, awesome in the green dress. Was that Vera Wang, or was it? I think it was Vera Wang.
I think so.
But I think she's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, Zendaya was somebody that was getting put over by a lot of the critics. I did notice that, but it seemed like the attention was sort of splintered, sort of aside from her, because there were a number of, as you said, other kind of noteworthy outfits that people had there. And so another thing that we always kind of talk about, I think both with the Emmys and the Oscars, because in this sort of postmodern age, they really seem to be struggling to find the way to be most relevant in society here. And a lot of times the topic comes down to, when we're talking about this specifically, who the host is, what direction they're going to go in. Do you want to get a comedian? Do you want to get a late night host? Do you want to do this, that, whatever?
Or nobody.
Yeah, or nobody, because this year they're doing it without a host, and yet you've got Thomas Lennon as the narrator, and he made a little bit of sort of meta commentary / joke about how it sucked, and a lot of people, I think, agreed with that, whether he intended it or not. You had a lot of the presenters out there sort of doing quasi-host type stuff in addition to just going out and presenting, so a truly, truly sort of bizarre spectacle from my standpoint. What did you think about it?
Well, first of all, I think a large part of the commentary I read, and I thought myself, it's not a show that absolutely needs a host. It was funny how the people that are hosts of the show in the past and stuff like that was I wouldn't agree with that. I've not seen him wants to lose a job or anything, but it's the type of show where it's tight for time to begin with. If you add in extra bits that by the host or whatever, that a lot of the people at home don't necessarily want to see, because they're just looking to see who wins, what everybody wears, what everybody says. I had no problem with having no host. I know Thomas Lennon got, raked over the coals for a lot of his commentary. For the Felicity Huffman joke, for some of the other things he said that just fell flat and didn't even make it to press. But that's, that's the nature of the beast. It could have just easily have gone the other way. But I like the fact that they're thinking out of the box, and that they're trying trying different things, and they're not just saying, because since we've always had a host, you've got to stick with this cookie-cutter format. I think it worked fine without a host, and I mean, one of the criticisms of the show would not be, for me at least, the lack of a host.
Oh, interesting. And yeah, because that's something that had really gotten criticized.
And that comes from somebody that gets paid to host things. So, yeah.
So you're not meaning to infer that the host industry is overrated or anything like that. Just that this one might not need it in particular.
This show, I think it's a thankless job. To be
Yeah.
honest with you. I think it's a very hard job to pull off, because almost the best you can get is he wasn't a bother type of thing. That's like
Right.
the best you could hope for. They say it's not a super high paid gig. It's a gig that when you go into, you're facing 80% negative, 20% positive, and you're hoping to ride that little 20% positive to get through it unscathed. So, it's not really filled with lots and lots of positive. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't take it if I was offered it, but the thing is, I don't think it's an essential part of the show, and I don't think it's something that's ever looked at as something that's lauded after the show. Okay, they're going to say when somebody looks amazing. They're going to say when somebody has a poignant speech, or they're going to say when somebody says something epic as a little bit on stage. But they're not really ever going to point the host out, or at least they haven't in the past, as something stellar about the show.
Well,
so when you know that's not really a possibility, it's not something that it's not a pool I'd want to jump into if I already had a great name in that industry and everything, and this could only possibly make it less.
yeah, that's a very good point. You don't want to be in situations where there's not much to gain and a lot to lose. But I gotta say too.
You know what it's like. It's like when people sit down. A great example is this. If you're an experienced physician, or if you're an experienced lawyer, or if you're a professional person, you do not want to be, I don't think, on the Real Housewives of whatever city they're doing the franchise in.
Right.
Because you have everything to lose. You're already an established person, unless you always wanted to be a celebrity of sorts just for being a celebrity and be known by the different people. Because the thing is, you're going to be put in a messy situation. You're going to come out looking like a mess. And if you're in a legitimate job like real estate, lawyer, banker, physician, dermatologist, anything like that, you can only hurt yourself, I personally think, and a lot of other people, say the same thing with. Whereas, however, if you go in with nothing, and you are an unknown, and you do not have anything to lose, it is a godsend, because it's the thing that will bring you to the public's attention. And once you get in the public's attention, as long as you're clever and creative, you can change the way they're going to think about you. Because the media will always love to hail you, but they're also going to then want to nail you. So there's always a cycle going on. No matter how good you think you are, there's always somebody waiting to pop that bubble. No matter how bad you think you are, there's always somebody wanting to inflate you.
That's a very good point.
If you have nothing to lose, go for it. And the same thing about hosting. If you have something to lose, step back and sit in the seats.
Well, in terms of the faceless narrator kind of a gig here, we talked about that with Thomas Lennon, and some people kind of crapping on him for the job that he did. Maybe this is just a little more sensitivity in my old age here, but this is one of these things where it almost feels to me like karma, and I say that as somebody who has respected and enjoyed and laughed at a lot of Thomas Lennon's work. He's a funny guy, but the Felicity Huffman thing, to me, I understand that we're in a day and age now where everybody wants to go off on privilege and that kind of stuff. Anybody that thinks that woman is not going through an awful lot of suffering right now, whether or not there's a 14-day jail sentence or not, anybody that wants to act like she's getting off scot-free when she's been humiliated, quite possibly her career is over, her name's been dragged through the mud, and I understand this. I understand this is all from stuff that she did here, but for Thomas Lennon to make a joke that just sort of piles on here, oh, Felicity Huffman getting away with murder here, maybe he does deserve to get pummeled by the critics, who, it's funny, nobody's pummeling him for that because nobody has sympathy for Felicity Huffman right now.
I did hear him get pummeled for it. I think it was a dead taste. I'm not a person that knocks somebody when they're down.
Right.
And you don't know what anybody's going through, so you walk a mile in their shoes. And while what she did was wrong, it's not like she went into a store and murdered people. Okay? And it's not something that also should be, laughed at. It's something, anytime your name is mentioned in the public in a negative way, even if it's completely false, there are always going to be people that just believe what they've heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so and if it is, and the fact that she also has to spend jail time, whatever. This is something that's going to go on before it even becomes. People short memories and people will forget. But before it even becomes a memory, this is something that's going to go on for months, even before she goes to spend 14 days in jail. And then it's going to be a big news story for a little bit after that as well. And it's always going to be something that's going to be brought up by her detractors. So it's not a little thing in any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you agree with me on that because, again, this notion that she's getting off scot-free, the 14 days in prison is really almost sort of beside the point. I mean, so she's not going to be in somewhere long enough to get shivved.
You're having a video of the freaking perp walk of walking to court to get your sentencing?
Right.
That's bad enough.
Right.
That's going to live forever in infamy. That's bad enough.
It is. She's getting.
Even if she serves her time and the thing is gone, that thing can be brought up over and over and over again, as nothing is ever deleted and nothing is ever lost, especially in the internet age.
Well, exactly. I mean, and when you've basically been put on the Mount Rushmore of perps along with Fatty Arbuckle, Michael Jackson, and O.J. Simpson, yeah, I think that whether you do 14 days in jail or 14 years in jail is sort of beside the point there, and I agree with you completely. In terms of the content during the show, and we'll get to the awards here in a second, but as far as the skits with the presenters and whatnot, the one thing out there that is getting universal acclaim, probably because the performer himself gets and deserves universal acclaim, is one of America's great comedy legends, Bob Newhart. The skit that he did with Ben Stiller, that's the one thing I think that sort of most went viral out of this. And yeah, it was amazing. And again, for Newhart, a guy who broke on the scene in 1960, to come up with something like 59 years later that just manages to go viral and still basically be true to his own ethos and his sense of humor, it just shows you he's one of the greats of all time.
Well, it also shows that no matter what age, no matter what generation, deadpan is always one of the best and safest forms of comedy there is.
Yep.
I mean, I love the way he is so emotionless no matter what he says. Like when he says, "By the way, I thought you sucked in Tropic Thunder," or whatever. I mean, it's just funny. It's just funny coming, and just his delivery is so unemotional and so steady.
Right.
And so deadpan. It's just the things you have to think about what he says, and it just gets you, and you just can't stop laughing.
The old Dean Martin roasts where he would have the byplay back and forth with Don Rickles is just priceless, because you can't find two people stylistically that are more at opposite ends of the spectrum, but it just shows how talented they both were, that they could also bring the best out of each other.
Oh, 100%. I actually, it's funny, Michelle Obama has that saying, if they go low, go high. I always say if they go loud, go soft, in the sense of like, nothing makes people listen to you more than when you lower your voice and you do the deadpan delivery and they actually have to listen to the words, than when somebody's just screaming. One of my wake-up words that I talk about is, just because the volume of your voice increases doesn't mean your opinion gains any more merit.
Right.
And that holds so true in comedy. If you're just emotionless and say everything calm, cool, and collected with a deadpan delivery, I just think it's so much more powerful than if you're screaming or making ridiculous facial gyrations or looking like a human cartoon.
I agree. Although it would be funny to imagine, though. It would be funny to imagine him putting on a wig and a trench coat and trying to do a Sam Kinison routine. That sort of amuses me now that I think of it.
It would be funny. No, it would be funny if he did that. Okay, if he did the Sam Kinison routine and the trench coat and a wig and all that stuff, but with his delivery. Not with Sam Kinison would go loud and scream and everything. But Bob Newhart just do the same exact lines. You give him the script, the same lines, but in his style, but the same outfit. That would be fun.
I would pay any amount of money to see that and hear Bob Newhart go, oh. That would be the greatest thing ever. But he gave us a great moment again from the awards there. Him and Ben Stiller doing a great job of playing off of each other. And for the awards themselves, again, Game of Thrones cleaning up in a way that we all sort of expected. And on a macro level...
They won the big award. They won the best drama. They didn't clean up in any way near like everybody was saying they were going to.
Oh, okay.
That show that I've never seen, Fleabag, was the sleeper winner of the night.
Okay.
With Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I mean, what did she walk away with? She won Best Comedy Series,
right.
Best Comedy Actress, and Best Comedy Writer. Come on, that's like the trifecta
Well, that's true.
I never heard of.
That's true. They got some awards there, and I guess I stand corrected on what the bar of expectations was for them. And I guess yes, I do stand.
Their bar was too high.
Yeah.
When I before, knowing I was going to be on with you, I
Mm-hmm.
was listening to some pre award coverage, and all these experts were saying, "Oh, it's Game of Thrones last year. This is going to be their coronation. This is going to be, because they changed the face of television, which they did. They became completely destination must-see TV for those people who watch it and stuff like that, and especially help non-traditional network stations even more because of the success of that particular show. However, whenever anybody goes to that length, and you have all the experts saying it's going to be their coronation, it's just going to be, this is what's going to happen. All the other ones, they're just unlucky this year. They're against Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones is going to win everything. As soon as they said that, I thought to myself, they're going to win next to nothing but the big award. They're going to get the one prize saying, here you go, congratulations, you changed the face of television, but they're not going to get all the other stuff that everybody thinks they're going to get. And that's exactly what happened.
Interesting. And again, what they were able to do, more so as you say in years past, getting the big one here this year as well, and that we were sort of seeing this trend, as you indicate, that's sort of been culminating for a while now, where you're looking at the streaming services and the quote-unquote premium networks. And for a gig that's always on network TV is really, at this point, I would use the term getting exposed, because I think what it comes down to is when you're on commercial television.
Fox was all over these awards. You just had to wait for the commercials to watch other matches. I mean,
yeah.
They may not have been nominated for anything, but as soon as they went to commercial, you couldn't miss it.
Well, yeah.
Fox all the time.
Yes, they were exploiting it, and I guess if you're a network, I guess that's kind of sort of my point, is that's kind of like maybe the best you can do is exploit it to try to get eyeballs for your own product, because the further we go along, and this is a trend that I don't see reversing itself, because the networks, I don't think, are going to start putting that big of a premium on quote-unquote prestige TV, such as we've been seeing over the last 15 to 20 years, primarily on cable and now on the streaming services. So as we continue to get more of that bifurcation of the really high-level stuff being found more in those places and network, yeah, there's some stuff here and there that people like and that have a very high critical acclaim as well. But it's just really interesting that the platform that these awards are being televised on, by and large, the actual big awards are getting further and further away from those networks, it seems like.
It is. That's been a trend that's been happening for, the past decade for
sure.
Much. And the original people, I remember people, as soon as cable started, they said, network TV is dead. The first people coming out, even when network TV still had the lion's share of the audience. And now people are, of course, saying cable is dead because of the streaming services and the other opportunities and other things like that are out there. The one thing Game of Thrones also did, which is worth mentioning, because we always like to mention High Point, is congratulations to Peter Dinklage, because I think he, if I'm not mistaken, this is his fourth Emmy, and he's now the most, he has the Emmy record for supporting actor wins. It's supporting actor, but he has the Emmy record, because I think I saw, that is fantastic.
It really is, and it shows you the amount of respect that he earned for his role on Game of Thrones over the years. And this is also the last Emmys that we're seeing before what it looks to be sort of an explosion in streaming over the next 12 months here, because you're going to be having some more things coming in here. I don't know how much original stuff there's going to be on Disney Plus, and I have a feeling that Disney's probably still going to continue to use Hulu for more in the prestige type area. But NBC now with the Peacock, HBO Max, again, I don't know how much original stuff they're going to do right off the bat, but I think there's going to be at least some of it. I'm seeing increasing commercials now for Apple TV and the stuff that they're going to be doing, some of the original series. So, and I'm sure I'm forgetting at least 2 or 3 of the other ones that are going to be coming out here. So,
what's the commercial? I all the time now new to watch Sling TV coming up all over the place.
Oh, okay.
Streaming services. Sling TV that had who was it? Megan Mullally from Will and Grace, and I think her real life husband. They were doing a fun commercial bit for it, and now there's another celebrity I just saw doing a thing for. I don't know if they're co-spokespeople or if this is the new spokesperson, but I see Sling TV all the time.
I do too, and I don't know how much they're going to be doing of original programming as opposed to just bringing you other channels, but that's worth paying attention to as well. Yeah, because sometimes you get these things coming in directions you don't even expect. And I wasn't thinking Sling until you said that. But yeah, now it almost...
That's how they start, though. That's
yeah.
how they start, though, Rick. They start by, even like regular cable channels, rebroadcast a ton of other programming to start with, and then peter in and salt and pepper in original programming. Like, you could turn on, for argument's sake, what is it, AMC any time of day, and see various movies, various, repeat shows, and then as far as the original program, like Walking Dead or Preacher and stuff like that, that's the stuff that's put into prime time on the days that they have to, on the days that they are cherry-picking to fill it with. But, still the majority of the schedule is programming that's been on before.
Yes, that's true. And you've got a lot of different things coming here as far as the different streaming services that are emerging and the different platforms. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if something on one of these platforms that hasn't even debuted yet possibly is up for some awards next year and may end up winning some next year. And that is going to be worth paying attention to as well. But regardless of whatever the state of the industry is, it is always a pleasure breaking it down with you, my man. And as I say, we can always count on this for the Emmys, the Oscars, and it's always nice to find other occasions in between. But always a pleasure to have you on. And now that you are an FDH Lounge dignitary, yes, I will get you out that T-shirt here, and I look forward to getting the pose pointing at the camera with that. I am delighted just thinking about that, John. That is going to be priceless.
You, sir, bring the awesome. It is always a joy to talk with you about any of the award shows and any of the pop culture moments that we discuss. I love you guys over there, and looking for the shirt.
All right. It'll be coming your way in the near future. Thank you so much, John Basedow, fitness and pop culture expert and FDH Lounge dignitary. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here for FDH Lounge mini episode number 1150.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and the periodic table of elements.